Thank you, Founders District, and thank you, trio of the Founders District, District Director David Hosmer, Program Quality Director Julie Murphy, and Club Growth Director Cathy Hughes, distinguished Toastmasters all, and they have been so kind to support this series of workshops called Founders Lead 2022. And we welcome you tonight to Founders Lead 2022 workshop number 2. These workshops have been put together to enable you, the emerging leader, to be fitted with a series of tips, tricks, and talents to help you on your journey to be a better leader at the club level, at the district level, at your level in work, and at your level in home. Tonight, it is my extreme pleasure to tell you about our presenter for tonight. She is the past district director for District 12, home of many Toastmasters. She was the past program quality director for District 100, and I was honored to serve with her as she led District 100 at the beginning of this year before a health issue arose. But she is back and she's triggered. She has a PhD in conflict resolution. She's a distinguished Toastmaster, a qualified speaker, a past district director, and I am honored to say also my friend. Her purpose is to approach all of her activities fully present, enthusiastic, and bold to encourage, engage, and inspire those she encounters in order for them to experience feeling supported and willing to risk being all they can be. She has served as a teacher, a principal from K through 12, and a university professor at the University of California, Riverside, Cal State University in San Bernardino, and Cairo University. An educator for over 45 years, she has also lived in 4 countries abroad with her military husband and family. She returned to the United States after living 8 years in Cairo, Egypt, and is proud to call California home. I am proud to call her my friend. She is certainly someone that you will be so glad to know because she is going to lead you through conflict resolution. Help me welcome Dr. Charlotte Naugle.
Oh, thank you, AJ. I want to welcome all of our attendees tonight. Thank you for choosing this evening to spend time experiencing and finding out more about resolving conflicts. Give me just a moment to get my slides in action and we will get right into it. As I look at conflict resolution, people have so many different opinions about that. So let's take a look at what we will see. A leader cannot give away something they don't have. Do you have the necessary skills to make sure that you can resolve your personal conflicts in a healthy and an effective manner? Tonight, we're going to focus on the individual personal aspect of conflict as leaders work through their skills. Now we're going to be working with tools, which is represented by the hammer. We're looking at new ideas, possibly from the light bulb representation. We move over to man, we're going to look at resolving steps. And then we're also going, with the brain, we're going to look at language, phrases that help us. Therefore, I'm going to ask you to participate in all our discussions that you're asked to do, and that you will also participate in our activities. I encourage you also to take notes because it helps when you want to recall information. Conflict is inevitable. We work with human beings. Every day you will see all types, but conflict itself encompasses a broad spectrum, going from the individual personal conflicts through to small groups, teams, maybe even large groups that you deal with. We have dealings with counties, with cities, with countries. We even deal with mediation, negotiation. But even though that's broad, the very first step you take, the very first step is dealing with yourself. What do I know? What do I believe? How do I act? What kinds of actions do I take when I'm dealing with conflict? So we're going to look at that tonight. I'm going to use Gandhi's quote because I believe it really brings us to the objective of what we want to do. Your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values, and your values now become your destiny. I want you to think about the beliefs you have tonight, the thoughts that you have, the words you're going to use, what actions you will take. What habits are you going to develop so that you have a value of conflict that is effective and resolves it in a positive way? So I want you to keep Gandhi's comment in your mind as we work through the skills and tips and ideas that we have tonight. But before we can really move into anything, we have to all be on the same page for definitions. So let's look at how I see conflict defined and that we all are looking at it together as the same. We have two types of conflict. It's either internal, and the very same thing that happens with other people can happen internally with you. Do I buy a new car or do I not buy a new car? But tonight we're going to look at the external, where you're dealing with two or more people who perceive their goal to be incompatible. They just don't see how it's going to be resolved easily. We also have resolution, which means it's the process or the steps you use. It's almost like a recipe to resolve the issue. And when you follow these recipes, it gives you a target to conclude in an effective manner. And then conflict management is a system of managing all your kinds of conflict because it is a very large concept. So I would like to try a whiteboard activity with you. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to ask Julie to put up our whiteboard. And while she's doing that, I will give you our directions. You will see the whiteboard has the word conflict with a circle. Using the whiteboard options at the top, you're looking for the text comment. or icon, which is the second from the left. And what I'd like you to do is take a look at where you would position yourself in dealing with your personal conflicts on a daily basis. Are you very close to the circle or are you further away? And just use your name and type your name in to wherever you position yourself on that circle. And I'll give you a moment to do that. Everyone, if you will just begin to put your name and indicate where on the whiteboard you would put yourself.
And if you are experiencing any difficulties with working with the annotation tools of Zoom, we did give you some guidelines on pages, I believe 3, 4 in your booklet for some guidelines. But
This will give me an idea of where you as individuals see yourself with conflict. So
Exactly.
Don't be afraid to put you down.
Right. And if it's too much, feel free to put in the chat where you see yourself. Are you close to the circle or are you far away? If you can't find the tool, Diana, just put in the chat whether you're close to the circle or far away, and we'll put you on the whiteboard.
Wow, good, Holly, good. Shirley, good. Okay, wow. This is really interesting as I see where you're putting your name. I have some name. Oh, wow. Oh, Brenda, I see you further away. In the circle. Oh, you're okay. Very good. I want to make sure I give you time to do that.
Cute. Whoops. There she is. So we've got Stella in the circle. Holly, we're going to take care of you, Holly. Don't you worry about it. I see your H.
Okay, while the rest of you are indicating your place, I'm going to ask Brenda. Brenda, could you share, unmute, and share why you position yourself a distance away in the conflict, from the conflict circle?
Sure. I put myself far away from the conflict circle because I typically try to avoid conflict, even when conflict exists.
No, okay. Very good. All right, Diana D, I see that you put your name a little way from the circle. Could you share why your reason for that position?
I don't have a clue.
That's where it ended up, huh?
Okay, all right. Well, that's
Well, no, I don't have a clue about conflict resolution.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, and then Holly, I see that you and Stella and Angela kind of put yourself in the circle. Do you get in somebody's face when you do conflict?
Well, once in a while, yes, but it depends on what the subject is.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right, Harry, you put yourself just outside the circle. Could you tell me your reason for positioning yourself there?
Generally, I like to stay away from conflicts, but I don't shy away from them either. So I'm kind of on the outside. I wade in if it's necessary.
Okay. Well, this is a good picture for me to have an idea. Is there anyone else who would like to share why they have put themselves in the position they have?
This is Holly Boutel. Hi, everybody. I hope your evening's going well, or
Hi.
daytime, wherever you are.
It's great, Holly.
Good. I put myself close to the circle because I'm kind of realizing that people's perception of conflict is everybody has their own perception. And I necessarily don't think it's a negative thing, but specifically in the last few weeks, I've noticed that naturally I'm an avoider. So I turn my back, I walk away, I keep quiet, I ignore it. And that just makes things bubble up and get worse. And I just feel like it's better to get right in there and communicate. And that's why I put myself close to the circle, is because I'm trying to be a better communicator with conflict, whether that's in business, relationship, dating, anything of that nature. So I think it's good to kind of keep our minds open of the different perceptions. And that's why I put myself there. That's all.
Excellent. Very good, Holly. Thank you so much for sharing that information.
Charlotte,
Yes.
Sam Sukumar has his hand raised, and so does Shirley Child. Sam, do you want to
Okay.
go first?
Thank you. Hi, Charlotte. Hello,
Hi.
good evening, everyone. Yeah, I would go with Holly. I don't see conflict as being negative or positive. It is basically an opportunity to resolve things. How we approach it is the attitude we have towards it.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And is it, who was the other person?
Shirley
Oh,
Child.
Shirley. Yes, Shirley. Would
Thank
you
you
like
very
to
much,
share?
Charlotte. I'm not sure where to put myself because I can see other people's views, and I do try and resolve the conflict. But sometimes I get involved with other people's conflicts and I help them. I'm not saying that I'm very good all the time, but I do try and help them. And that's difficult. That's the difficulty that I find.
Well, surely that is a specific skill, learning to mediate between people to help them arrive. I'm not going to be doing that aspect of conflict tonight. We're going to look at personal, but it is an additional skill that people can work with. Thank you for sharing.
Well, also thank you. So may I add that I'm usually good at mediation, but with some people you just can't do it. That's right. An issue as well. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much, all of you, for sharing. AJ, was there any other hands that were up?
No, that's it.
Okay, let's move forward then. I'm going to stop or we're going to move on to section 2 now with sharing my screen. So if you'll wait just a second, we'll move right into the aspects of conflict that I'd like to share with you. I'm learning to do this, so I appreciate your. Okay, conflict is inevitable. That is a choice. You can use your skills to create negative and an unhealthy approach. People can choose. I've seen Toastmasters choose this approach, not realizing what they have included, but it can lead to violence. It also undermines the communication relationship that you have. But the thing that I want to let you know is it creates uncooperativeness with people. And then of course you don't ever resolve real issues, and it is hurtful. It is not something that we want to aim for. But conflict can be positive and a healthy approach. It can create creativity and innovation, maybe a new way of doing something as a result of a conflict coming up. It can strengthen communication if you know how to use the language to do that. It also releases stored feelings, and people often undo that stored feelings. And then it also can lead to solutions. And of course, that's what we're after. The other thing that it does that I think is wonderful is it results in growth in relationships. When you've been through a conflict and you have resolved it, you now maybe have a new friend, or you have a friendship that is stronger than it was to begin with. So I want you to think about moving away from the negative and choosing a healthy and more efficient approach. Now, there are many, many causes. These are the most common ones. There are more that are more in more detail, but I'd like to, most of us have dealt with misunderstandings. I'd like to indicate that it is the speaker's responsibility in communication to make sure that the listener is understanding what you are saying. It is not the listener's responsibility. If you're communicating, it is your responsibility as the speaker. And there are several ways that you can do that. If you're giving directions or instructions to a team member, you can ask them to repeat back what they've heard. Oftentimes, if I'm in a team meeting, I will ask an individual to repeat back what they have heard, just so that I know that they are understanding, because comprehension is usually the problem with misunderstandings, prejudices, and biases. And of course, none of us have any of those. Mine is all related to food, so it doesn't have anything to do with conflicts, but we all have them. And if you can determine or look at the situation and say, ooh, I think this person has a prejudice or a bias, it helps you to identify the problem when it comes to resolving it. The big one that I have found in my experience with 18 years of Toastmasters is unfulfilled expectations. Leaders expect people to do certain things, and then they are unfulfilled for a variety of reasons. But I want you to pay attention to that. This is an important one, because when you set up particular expectations for people in whatever work you're doing, it's important that they know and can repeat back what those expectations are. Could be in a different format, but they do need to clarify that they understand. And of course, differences in values and cultures and perceptions. That's why we have a court system, because four people can be standing on the corner of and witnessing an incident, and all four people have a different perception of what that is. And I'll come back to perceptions in a moment. Culture is a very important thing. When I was living in Cairo, before I went, it told me in many of the travel books to not look any Egyptian man in the eyes. That was a no-no. Well, when I got there and I began teaching classes, I found out that that was not a true statement. So oftentimes we make assumptions about cultures or people's values, and we're off base completely. So, and differences over facts and priorities. I know that when I was working as a district director with my team, making sure that we agreed on priorities was something that ended up having much discussion about. And that's positive, but it also is a time waster. And so you have to make sure that you are looking at the amount of time that you are examining some of these things. And then, of course, difference in methods, resources, and power. There are many people who have been in positions, in district positions for a while, that they tend to think that they have the power to be in them for 10 years. Okay, and sensitivity, of course. Let's move on to, I want to deal with perceptions. I'm going to show a picture to you for a moment, and I'd like for you, you may have seen this picture before, but even if you haven't seen it, if you have seen it, I would like for you to indicate to me in some way, and I'll ask you one at a time, to either see the old woman or the young woman immediately. What is it that you see at your first glance? So take a look at that picture. And then how many of you saw, and just kind of indicate by a hand, raise your hand in the reaction section and tell me how many see what did I ask for? The young woman?
Young woman.
Yeah, young woman. How many? Oh, lots of people see the young woman. Okay, very good. Now, how many saw the old woman right away? Okay, wow. Angela, did you see both of them or did you just see one?
Oh, my apologies. I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, that's okay. What did you see? What did you see?
I saw the young woman. I did not see the old woman.
You don't see the old woman?
I can't see it at all.
Oh, wow.
I see the old woman.
Other people see, look at that. Other people see, well, I
can't see it.
Okay, who sees the old woman? Somebody speak up and tell me who would be willing to share to help this young lady see what you see.
Alejandra Paz sees the old woman.
Alejandra, did you see the old woman?
Yes, I can see both. And,
oh, you can see both. All right. Would you please use words or whatever you need to do to help? Who was it that saw?
Yes.
Angela.
Angela.
If you look, you have to concentrate, I think, on what you see the ear of the young woman and change this to the eye of the old one. And you're going to start seeing the nose, the chin of the.
Yes.
And then,
do you see it now, Angela?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Thank you.
What happened to change your perception? What did you have to do in your behavior in order to see what Alejandra was telling you?
What did I have to do?
You had to do something.
I had to focus on the ear and then see how the ear was an eye.
So she labeled things for you. She labeled things. You both knew the same word for label. All right, you also have to shift your eyes.
Yes, I had to move it.
Have to change. So, but the reason I show this, and for those of you that don't see the old woman, let me point her out real quickly. Here is her mouth, and here is her fur coat. This is her nose, and this is her hair and her cap. This is her mouth, and this is her chin.
So what looks like a choker on the young woman,
right,
is actually the mouth on the older woman, and then that strong pointed chin comes out.
This is a very good illustration to show people that we don't see the same things. And then what do we have to do in order to see what someone else sees? And you have to use language, or you have to use pointers, or you have to help draw, whatever. But those things are necessary if people are not seeing what you see. And it's a very good exercise to use in team building or whatever, just if you want to focus on that area. Okay, now, any questions about that? Are you all okay with that? All right, let's move on to the next section. And I will talk about Covey's model for effectiveness. This is very important when you are trying to work with new ideas or new skills. Covey indicates the fact that anytime you are starting new, if you are learning new things, you are at a dependent area of effectiveness. And this is where you need a mentor, you need someone that you know that has those skills that you can interview or talk with and gain information. But there are 3 basic skills that you need to know before anyone can move to independent, being able to do that skill on their own. They have to be proactive. They have to know the end in mind, and they have to be able to prioritize. Now, once they have arrived at that, you move into interdependence, which means you're working with a lot of other people. And there are 3 basic skills that you need to use, and you need to use them with conflict. One of those is to understand the win-win process. No one likes to be a loser. And so anytime that you can resolve a conflict on a win-win, that's what you're really trying to do. The second skill that's very important is that you try to understand the other person before they understand you and your position. That means you have to be out of the me and get into them more so that you understand them more. And then synergy is the third one, where you're dealing with people who have similar concepts that you have. So I want you to keep this in mind, because these skills are important when you're dealing with personal conflict. How willing are you to be a win-win person? How willing are you to give up your first ideas to listen to someone else first? Those kinds of things we need to look at. And then there are some strategies that we need to consider. Treating people respectfully, having a positive tone. Now, we treat people respectfully because Toastmasters, that's one of our core values. But I have seen people in Toastmaster meetings not treating people respectfully. So it really needs to be touched and looked at carefully. And then accountability needs to be checked. If somebody is not treating someone with respect, that needs to be accountable. People need to be with that. Using active listening. If you have not increased your active listening skills, I encourage you to do that. And again, examining others' perspective, avoiding naming attributes, and then solving conflicts while they're small. Because if you don't, they enlarge, and then you have a bigger problem. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some formulas that we use to whether we want to engage in a conflict or not. Because I think somebody mentioned, Holly maybe mentioned, that there are times when she avoids conflict. Well, that's okay. There are 4 areas, and I'm going to do them in 2 slides. The question is, do I engage in this conflict? If you have a low interest in this conflict of solving it, and the other person has a low interest, then it's not worth it. Don't bother resolving it. It's not big enough for anyone to spend a lot of time. And these are usually minor things that happen. But if you have a low interest and the other person has a high interest, then you can go ahead and concede without feeling guilty about it. Go ahead and let them have what is, because it's more interest to them than it is to you. The third method is if you have a high interest and they have a low interest, then advocate for your point of view. Educate them. Help them learn why it's of high interest to you. When you are in the resolution process, you can tell them, this is really important to me. So I'm wondering if you will listen to what I need to tell you or what I'd like to have you know about this issue. And then the fourth one is having a high interest on both sides. Now you collaborate for an agreement, a compromise, or a consensus. And let me tell you the difference. An agreement is just something that they say, okay, I'll do. And it's just both agree. A compromise is where you're going to build a win-win, a win-lose. And you don't want to be the loser and the other person doesn't either. The consensus is where you are going to work until you all agree. This is usually done at deck meetings. I usually, when I want them to make a discussion, I try to say we're working towards consensus here rather than compromise or just an agreement. I let them know where we're headed. When you are resolving a conflict, personal conflict, I usually will say, this is so important to the team that I'd like us to have a consensus. Would you agree to that? So those are the four decisions that you can make about whether you're going to engage in that or not. Now, I'm going to move to, from this point, I'm going to move into the role play. We have a role play for you. And we're going, Cathy and Christine are members of the We Be Go-Getters Toastmasters Club. Mm-hmm. Christine is a charter member of the club and a past president of the club. She's currently the club's secretary. Now, Cathy has just only been with the club for about 3 years and is the current VP of Education. Mm-hmm. Cathy has spent the entire weekend building the agenda for the upcoming meeting and filled it on the free toast host. Cathy logged in on Monday morning to see that the entire agenda had been changed. Oh, she was so upset. So Cathy asked for a meeting to meet with Christine to discuss this agenda change. You're on, go for it, ladies.
Christine.
Hi, Cathy.
Thank you for accepting this meeting with me. I think you know why I called you here. I am pretty upset at the change you made to my agenda this weekend after I'd spent hours working on it to implement a new role assignment strategy that I'd been working on for a month since I went to officer training. And in one day, it was back and all of my changes are gone. It's not cool, Christine.
Well, Cathy, when I looked at the agenda and I saw the changes that you made, we hadn't even talked to the club to prepare them for this major change. And so I didn't think it would work, so I changed it back.
I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. Now, I had made a communication plan that was going to be delivered in our meeting day after tomorrow to talk about it. I just don't like that you changed it. It's my role as VPE to make that agenda. You're the secretary. I'm the VPE. It's my role to make that change.
Well, Cathy, I've been with this club since, Ralph Smedley was born for a very long time. And I know how this club will react to a major change. And I just didn't think it was going to work. And so that is why I was trying to help to make it better so that we could get the club used to the idea before you just sprung this change on them. It would be a big surprise. And this club does not like surprises.
Well, that's just too bad because these changes are important to me and I believe they're going to make our club better. And I'm the VPE. You're the secretary. I outrank you, Christine.
Well, you might outrank me as an officer in the club, but I have been here, like I said, since Ralph Smedley was born. And I know how this club is going to react. So I'm trying to help you, Cathy, by making sure that all of the members will be open to your idea.
I'm not feeling it. I think my changes were good. I think that was a good agenda.
Cut. Thank you. Now, as a group, you observed that this wasn't going anywhere. All they were doing was arguing. Right. So let me indicate to you the steps that we need to go through so that we can resolve this, because this isn't going to go anywhere. And if they leave this session with the idea that they don't have to really resolve the issue, there are problems that are going to mount. So let me go through the 6 areas. And I want you to think about them because we're going to redo this scenario again, only using the steps of resolution. The very first thing that you do is you plan and prepare how you want this resolution to go. You plan on what kind of a conclusion you'd like to have, what options you are looking for, and you prepare. Even sometimes I've had to prepare a script so that I know that I cover the issues that I want to cover. So I think before we ever meet of what needs to happen. So there's plan and preparation. The second thing is check your emotions. Now, if the conflict happens right then and there and people are angry, the comment that you make as the other person in this conflict is to say, it does not look like this is a good time for us to resolve this. Can we get back to it in a few days? Do not make a decision or resolve a conflict when emotions are high. There is a whole brain chemical neurological situation that occurs that blocks people thinking when they are in high emotion. So it's very important to check that. The next thing you do when you come together is you clarify the issue. What exactly is the problem? And you both have to agree that that's what the problem is, because oftentimes people's perceptions, they see this whole action differently. And then you set an intention. I would like to see blah, 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 whatever it is that you would like to, whether you want consensus, whether you want agreement, whether you want to compromise, you set the intention with that. And then you explore options, what things, and you don't restrict it to only things that are in the box. We might want to do some outside thinking. Remember, one of the positive results of conflict is innovative ways of doing something. So you might look for some different kinds of options. And then if you cannot come to an agreement, you agree to disagree and you leave it at that and you end it. You want to make sure that everybody both parties understand how you're leaving this situation. So you may want to review, make sure that this is the understanding that you both have. So now I'm going to ask Cathy and Christine to redo this again. And I'm going to leave this up so that you can check, watch now and listen to them to see if you can hear any one of these, because I'm going to ask you what you heard afterward. So let's begin. Christine and Cathy.
大哥，我想问你啊，上一次我记得一阵子你有一些小感冒。
I'm sorry.
Hold on 1 second. Just hold on 1 second, please.
He's talking.
很久很久以前呢。
Julie
Jackson.
Murphy. Julie Murphy.
I'm working
can
on
you-
muting everyone.
Thank you.
OK， 事情是这样，因为我
We got it.
They're solving their own conflict.
Yes. Okay, Christine and Cathy, are you both able to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Take it away.
Christine, I took a day away since our last conversation because I felt that it wasn't going very well. I don't think that we either of us wanted to do something that was bad for the club. So I think I wanted to have another go at this conversation and see where we both have desires for a good outcome for our club.
Yeah, absolutely, Cathy. I think that it's good that we're having another conversation so that we can, get ourselves straight.
I was feeling a little hurt and angry, and my emotions were getting in the way of having a very constructive conversation. But all I can say is it was a lot of work over the weekend, and I was not feeling very happy to come in on Monday morning, if you can understand that a little bit. But I just wanted to talk about a couple of issues that I had, because I think it could be worked out. We have had a scheduling problem that several of our members seem to like to take the same role all the time. And we don't have our newer members engaging in some of the roles that they should be taking active participation in. Would you agree we might be able to make some changes on that?
Yeah, I do agree that we could make some changes there. I would like to see the new members become more involved, and I fully support you in that endeavor. But I do stand behind my statement that we can't just spring this on some of those older members, that we need to convince them of the same thing that we're working on, that this is the best for the club.
Well, I can see that maybe in hindsight, I could have been a little hasty, and I do respect your many, many years as a club officer in this club. So I know there are things I could learn from you, and maybe you can help me a little bit and we can work together on the agenda, something along those lines, at least until I get the ropes.
Yeah, I would love to help you with that. My intention is for you to be successful. And I think that if you let me just work with you on this one thing to change how we assign the roles, I think that you'll be off and running and being the best VPE that we've had.
Thank you. That means a lot. I've only been in this club 3 years, and it's quite an honor to be the VPE in We Be Go-Getters. So I'm happy to work with you together and for our best outcome.
Right. Excellent. Does that finish you, ladies? Do you feel complete? All right, let's give them a hand. Boy, they did a great job. They did, that is not an easy process to do and to make sure. So let's find out what the audience heard and saw that relates to the steps that they did. Did someone see plan or preparation? How did they know that there was a plan or preparation made? Anybody respond? I cannot see you, so just.
Alejandra Paz, do you want to unmute yourself, dear, and let us know what you noticed?
I think that it was a preparation from Cathy because she rethought what she was saying and she came prepared to make some changes in the tone she was talking and tried to do some conciliation with the points that Christine had the day before. And I think that they set an intention to make things better, and they explore other options too.
Okay, someone else hear something? Please participate with us. What did you hear? What about, how do you know that they checked for emotions?
Yvonne Ceballos, could you unmute and let us know what your thoughts were?
Well, my thought was when I saw this, they're both officers. So my response was, it needs to be planned and they need to be prepared. And I mean all the officers. So that's where the officers meeting would have been a good time maybe for Cathy to present it, acknowledging her role. Because on Christine, the way she presented, she's the secretary, but she's been there a long time. So it was her decision. But if it's a club, it's a group decision. So I think, which Cathy right now, where she said that she had worked, and we all work on our roles as officers. So I think I would have gone that way with it.
Okay, all right. Someone else? What about clarifying the issue? Did you hear them clarify the issue that was before them?
Yes, I did. I heard on Cathy, yes, clarify it and present it in a way. And then Christine, she acknowledged, okay, you did spend time, but I know the people and it's been a long time.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, what was the intention? There was a specific intention that Christine said. Did anyone pick that up?
Yeah, I think her intention was for the club the intention was for the best outcome for the club. And I really appreciate how Cathy flipped how she was saying in the first one, she was kind of saying like, oh, I felt like she was kind of saying like, oh, I'm above you. And then in the second one, Cathy, you shared your feelings more and you were more feeling oriented and you just like were more relatable versus the first one. And I really appreciate that a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. All right, what about options? Were there options discussed? Anyone hear an option that they talked about?
Shirley Childs, why don't you unmute and tell us what options you heard?
Well, I think they said that they want the best for the club and whatever they can do to help the club with regards to the agenda and also for the older members and the newer members as well. How I felt the whole thing went in this second session was really good because both of them were not at loggerheads.
Yes.
That's what I thought. They were not pushing their own agenda. They were listening to each other and there was more receptive of each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So important, right?
Yeah.
Harry Mullen, do you want to unmute and tell us what you saw? What did you take note of?
I don't have anything more to add, I think, than already has been said, but I thought the setting of an intention and clarifying the issue clarifying the issue was what really made the difference. And so each person was able to say what their concern was. And there was more of a meeting of the minds is the way it seemed to me.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I see Brenda, you're shaking your head as well. Did you see anything additional that you wanted to share with us?
I think that they both presented options and that they were more agreeable to the other person's option, so that they were meeting in the middle. They weren't pushing one person's agenda over another person's agenda, so that they were on the verge of seeing the other side's perspective.
Thank you, Brenda.
Okay, thank you. One of the intentions that I heard Christine say that I was very pleased to hear was she wanted Cathy to be a success in her role. That was very clear when she said, my intention is for you to be successful. And I think we have to remember that we're a team and we're a family. And even though families have conflicts that often are not resolved, the intention is that we want the other person to be successful. So try to remember that in your area.
Charlotte?
Yes.
Yes, we also have a comment from my sister, Diana D.
Oh, absolutely. Please, Diana.
I am a little uncomfortable because there was no plan of action. Now, your list doesn't have a plan of action item in the steps other than something like explore options. But
well, no, there's a make agreement. There's a finished step here that there's an agreement made.
I think they agreed on what needs to be done, but there was nothing set for the future.
Okay, that's good. Good observation, Diana. Thank you. Yes. So maybe they would consider doing a third meeting, and that meeting then would be moving into innovation, creating and innovating a new whatever they wanted for the future. So very good. Thank you.
I have a question, Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know from both of our players, Cathy and Christine, how did you feel? How did you physically feel in both role plays? Was the second one tougher than the first?
Oh, good question, AJ.
I thought that second one would have been practically impossible to have if there wasn't some time in between the cool off time, because the emotions were really high from the first role play.
Good.
I think for me, the first one was the hardest, only because if anyone ever called me and was that upset, I would do everything I could to fix it right now.
And we would never have that conversation.
We would, Cathy and I would never. So, I mentioned in the chat that, sometimes we say yes to opportunities because they give us the opportunity to stretch. And I think it's good sometimes to play the role of someone that you would never be, so that you understand where that person is coming from. Now I know how to react to somebody in the first conversation when they're acting stubborn like I was, and that maybe instead of having to take that time and do the second conversation to try to steer it to where we needed it to be, right away.
Excellent, Christine.
Yeah.
It's important to also indicate that some leaders, when there is conflict within their group, they do want to fix it. Leaders don't fix things. It is the responsibility of the team to work through, or the leader to guide people. But it's really important to make sure that we don't fix other people. That's an important thing. Well, I appreciate, are there any more comments before we move on? Then let me move on. I want to share with you that language is crucial in dealing with conflict. Words have power. You know that. You've seen it, you've watched it, you've participated. But when you can use language phrases that help you to reduce some of that tension and that conflict, there are specific things that can be said. So I would like to show you some of those expressions that can be used so that you're not creating tension often in the other person, or you're not giving what I call ammunition for them to give back. So I'm wondering, AJ, could you read the first one on the list for us, please?
Sure can. Thank you for the information. I want to take some time to think about it.
You don't ever have to say yes immediately unless you choose to do that. And you can thank the person. You always acknowledge the other person. I don't care whether you are mortal enemies, you still acknowledge them. Thank you for giving me. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you have the idea. It's important that they feel validated, even if you disagree with the content. And then taking some time, you're telling them what you'd like to do. You're setting an intention here. Okay, Cathy, could I ask you to read number 2?
I'd like to explore your point of view further. Are you willing?
Great, thank you. Christine, what about the next one? I respect this one.
She's still muted.
I was muted, sorry. I respectfully disagree.
Yep, and that's a common statement that I make often. So, and I think let me see, AJ, would you call on some people because I don't have names?
Absolutely. Shirley Childs, the next one's for you.
And it's this one.
Okay, I hear what you are saying and very much respect your point of view. However, I see it differently.
Thank you. Excellent. Okay.
Okay. Yvonne Ceballos, could you unmute and take our next effective language phrase? It's the one from the bottom.
It's this one.
Yvonne, can you unmute first? There you go.
I hear what you're saying.
No, it's the one below that.
This one right here.
This is a very critical situation because.
Whatever. Good. Okay, and the last one on this page, AJ?
Hallie Long, can you unmute and give us the last sentence?
Yeah, I am sorry if I misunderstood your intent. Can we go over it again?
Good. Okay.
Perfect.
And then we'll do these few. So continue.
Harry, how about if you take the first one, Harry Mullen?
I know you want to do a good job. Let's work this out together.
Perfect. Alejandra Paz, how about if you take the next one, second one?
I am not sure if you understood what I was trying to convey at the meeting on blah, blah. I meant.
Yeah, good.
Comments.
Exactly. Holly, how about if you unmute and give us the third one?
This is how I see the issue. Can we come together on this?
Ah, good.
Perfect.
Good.
Jackson Chua, are you there? Can you unmute? Jackson might be doing multi meetings. Brenda Scher, can you unmute and give us the last one?
Sure. I sent you an email and I made a follow-up phone call, but didn't hear back. Did you receive them?
Good.
You know, that's so important when you've got those meeting minutes that you asked for 3 times and they still haven't shown up. Okay. Lovely phrase to use when you're trying to get those meeting minutes.
Excellent.
Back to you, Charlotte.
Thank you very much. I want to return now to Gandhi's quote, because I believe this is really our objective. What beliefs did you develop today that will become your thoughts? What thoughts did you have tonight that might become your words? Your words for action, action for habits, habits become your values, and values with conflict resolution becomes your destiny. I hope that you have gained some insights tonight that either were new for you or reinforced things that you knew, and that you had some skill. We gave you some tools. We've given you maybe some ideas. We gave you the steps for resolution, and we gave you language phrases. I wish you well, and you would develop your skills as you go, continue your journey. And again, thank you for allowing the time for you to spend time with me for the evening. And I return conduct back to you, AJ. I do have, you are muted, AJ.
I'm sorry. How could I have done that to myself? Anyway, yes, give your hearts and souls and all your emoticons that you have available to you to Charlotte. We do have some time for some questions and some answers. I can give you the answer first. Yes, it's Ralph Smedley's birthday. Yes, it's a Tuesday. Yes, it's 2/22/22 on a Tuesday. We have questions. Charlotte has answers. Holly.
I hope.
Holly, please unmute and give us your feedback. First question and answer.
Oh, if it's okay, I have a few things that I wanted to say.
Go for it.
First was if we could see the last two sides again, just briefly one more time. Not the last one, but the second to the last one.
Sure.
And they are in your workbook.
Right. Yeah, they're also in your workbook.
Oh, I don't have a workbook. Where do I get a
workbook?
workbook?
You don't have a workbook for $29.95? No.
I'll drop it in chat.
It's in the chat.
Yes. Jules, if you could drop the workbook in the chat again. Our very valuable workbook.
Okay, it's in chat. Let me know if anybody cannot access it.
Yeah, here's the slides. So
Is
here's
this
the
one,
first
or
one.
did you want the other one? Here's our first one.
Okay, perfect.
And then our second one.
You got it, Holly?
Yeah, I got it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
the
you-
second one, you really need more.
And
'Cause
then you
I'm-
said that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, and the workbook you said is in the chat?
It is in the chat. It's called Conflict Resolution PDF.
And then,
okay. If you can't get to it, put your email in the chat, and my my trusty assistant, we call her Trusty, will make sure it's sent to you by email.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, I don't see it in the chat, so I just went ahead and put my email in.
Yep. Same thing, Cindy Tran. If you don't see the workbook, put your email in the chat. We'll make sure the workbook gets to you. Anything else, Holly?
So I was wondering, do you have a meeting every week or that I could join?
Well, we the Founders Lead 2022 workshops, our series is every month. I'll be telling you about what's coming up shortly, and you can come hang out with us early and often. Holly, we want you with us. If you're an emerging leader that's looking for skill sets like this, to be able to get yourself prepared to lead at the club level, district level, professional level, and beyond, or even with your cat, dog, or whatever, conflict happens, right?
And
So you
if
wanna
you're
be
not
able to do-
currently a Toastmaster, we do have mini clubs. So just let me know and I can help you find a club that matches your needs.
Are you a Toastmaster yet, Holly? Holly went on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I am.
Yay, well then.
Okay,
you go.
perfect. Well, if you're looking to join another club, I also have many that would love to have more members as well.
Okay.
Hang out with us on a regular basis.
Oh, I would love that. Okay, I very much appreciate that. Thank you.
You
Go
got a
ahead
home
and,
with us here.
I'll follow up with you after as well.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Thank you.
Shiva Bachu. Shiva?
Hi. Yes, I have a couple questions. Can you possibly go back to the third slide from the end, because I didn't get a picture of it.
Third slide from the end. All right, that's also Shiva. It's also in the workbook. If you don't have
it
the
is?
workbook.
Okay. I got the workbook.
If you got the
Okay.
workbook, Shiva, you got the slide.
Okay. And
Anything else?
Yes. So I just wanted to ask Charlotte, maybe I just want to restate so I get the whole idea. So what we're saying is when there's conflict, yes, if everyone agrees, that's great. But sometimes you might compromise or you might agree to disagree. And when it's contentious and two parties are going at each other, so the best way is to kind of make some of those statements to kind of get out of it, but the problem's still not solved though, right?
No, and it may not be solved. All conflicts are not necessarily resolved. That's why we have national problems and country problems and so forth. Conflict is not, there are many, many people who have difficulty resolving conflict due to their emotional intelligence. They don't have strong social skills. Or they're dealing with power. Go back to those causes for why conflict happens anyway. Sometimes it's power. Sometimes it's they're bent on not moving 1 inch. Well, remember, if you have high interest and they have low interest, they don't want to really solve this problem. Then you share your knowledge with them if they'll listen. If they don't, then don't bother, because and a good facilitator, a good leader will learn the skills of being able to facilitate group conflict. And that's another whole skill level. This was just dealing with your own personal skill. And if you can't do this well, you won't be able to take it out into the group well either. So that's why it's really good for you to practice now dealing with your own awareness and your own skill level so that you can be a model for others in how to handle.
Right. That's why we call it people of peace.
Ooh, wow.
People of peace. You have to cultivate and generate your own peace from within. Look at Cathy Hughes. She is the picture of peace.
Oh, well, I have one more question. Sorry, I'm like hogging up the time.
No, that's okay.
My second question is, I appreciate like all the emotional intelligence aspect of it, because if I cannot self-regulate and self-manage, I'm not going to be able to manage the relationships or manage the other person.
Right.
Let's get to a better place.
Yeah.
Noticing lately is there's a lot of people, especially in my personal life, at work, you have to figure it out and fix it because, it's our jobs. But in my personal life, I noticed that there's a lot of people that would rather text about a problem. And I'm like, I call them, they don't pick up because they're more comfortable texting. And then it kind of just gets worse. And I eventually say, if we want to talk about it, we can meet. If not, I'm done, because I can't fix it in text.
Is there someone in the group that would like to respond to her?
My first thought is this is
Jay.
the whole reason why we tell people turn on your cameras, right?
Right.
Okay? I mean, you cannot, I've said constantly, nothing says how much I don't want to talk to you like this. right? You've got to get to a point where communication is like softball. Here's my communication. Imagine I've got a softball in my hand, right? If your head is like this and I throw that ball is going right past you, right? So you have to ensure and you have to repeat. Shirley, can I have time with you? I want us to develop something that will build for our club. Jackson, can I have time with you? I want to spend time with you. Right? When you share that investment, right, that you want to be fully present to the other person, most people, I mean, look at Shirley and Jackson right now. They're smiling. They want to be present to me, right? So I would say if you've got someone who's doing the fat fingered exercise, right? Look at that. See, Sheila, once you turn on
wanted
your
to see me in my
camera.
robe.
Exactly. Exactly. So we need to make sure we have that communication and we need to cultivate our interior sense of peace. Does that help, Shiva?
Yes. So, well, I guess Charlotte, so have you seen that in your generation or is it more like the younger people?
I've seen it everywhere. I've seen it everywhere across all ages. Yes. And I just want to interject this very important point. Silva, the questioner, Shiva, please mentally be prepared that not everybody is like AJ Heron. The world is not perfect. So always when you come across like that, all right, be prepared. There are others who are not like that. And there's nothing to do with you. Your job is to make sure you are who you are. You speak your truth gently and quietly and take the cuts where you may fall because the world is not perfect.
And go back to the 4 reasons I gave for entering conflict or not engaging in it. If the interest is low on both sides, you don't bother with it. If it's one-sided, go back to those 4 ways and then decide what's important to you and telling someone how you feel about that. Sometimes they don't want to listen, but that's okay. They have the right to behave the way they want, but you have the responsibility for your own thoughts, your own actions, your own words that are used.
All right. I love that. Yeah. That's what I have on my phone actually, that are my words, actions, and thoughts matching up with my values that I kind of listed. So it's kind of so yeah, I totally appreciate it. I feel like the other thing is it's a matter of respect too. If they're being disrespectful over text or that's how they want to be or whatever, then that's when I feel like, okay, our values are not in line because the respect I want to show you, you're not able to show me. So then I'm like, I'm just going to back off at that point.
But remember, it's the officer's responsibilities in a Toastmasters club to hold people accountable. Now you only
I'm talking about my personal life. Sorry.
Yeah. You only criticize in private and you praise in public. And so you pull somebody off and say, hey, this is what I heard. I think that was being disrespectful. This is what leadership is about.
Right, accountability.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And we
Shiva.
don't hold enough people accountable.
Thank you, Shiva. Jackson Chua, can you?
I have a question.
Please go ahead, Jackson.
I'm 57 and I thoroughly want to thank Charlotte. You look like my senior. So if I have a problem, it's not a small problem. I would like to tap on your wisdom. Recently, something happened like that. I like the fact that you mentioned Covey and proactive. And this has something to do with the previous question who mentioned respect. Because the conventional wisdom is respect must be earned. No, respect is a virtue in which you grant each other respect. It is your breeding. I have a problem now. There's a division contest this Saturday. I'm one of the finalists. There's a briefing run by young people, nothing to do with youth, but they're obviously very not experienced in the application of the rules. So when you clarify, you will cut and paste the whole chunk of contest rules. That's it. I felt personally insulted. I was the PQD last time in my district that sent my contestant to the finals. So I know the rules, but the application of the rules. So I was very calm. You know what I do? I call privately to take the matter offline. You know what's the response? They don't take my call. They send me a text. Anything you want to say it in the open, in the presence of everybody in the big group. I get cheesed off whenever you behave like a bureaucrat. Then I will go back to the main room, cut and paste your instructions to me, and I will tell you like it is. I'm trying to be polite, but I think this world suffers from lack of robustness. You know, in Asia, where there are tiger mums, the term's coined, face, you think face and everything is not common to all humans. But can we focus on the issues on hand? I'll try to be as even-tempered to you. Let's focus on the issues. Even if we disagree, we agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But I find at the end of the day, of all the seminars that I've attended, so many, yours stands out because of your tone. If you behave like Moses, let me tell you all the rules of resolving conflict like that.
That's a power play, Jackson. That's power play. That's a power play when somebody...
Therefore, in my opinion, intention is everything. Because all techniques is null and void if people don't trust. Stephen Covey's 8 habit, the speed of trust. If there's trust, we are open to discussion using techniques to ensure a viable, useful, effective meeting. But the people operate on their prejudices, even unspoken. You think we can't sense it? In that case, I will back off. I realize that the intention is not there. It's not likely to be a fruitful meeting. I want your
Thank you, Jackson. We need to move along. We have some announcements to make as well. I do appreciate your comments, though. I really do, and support you in your beliefs.
Diana D. and Shirley Child. Shirley Child, you're up next. Could you unmute and share your thoughts with us?
I want to thank you all for this session. I think it should be done more. I think it should be done. I'm going to make a suggestion at club leadership training or club officer training. I've done it before in my time and it worked very well, but once only is not enough. It has to be a number of times, I guess, because like we know, everything is about practice. The more we do it, the better we are. And to Jackson, your leaders sound like my father. You cannot get anywhere. You talk about tiger moms, tiger dads. You cannot get anywhere with them. So there you go.
Thank you very much.
I really loved the session, and I just wish more of it is happening.
Well, we aim to add more into it. We're grateful to the Founders District. Diana D., quickly, can you unmute and let us know your thoughts?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm looking at the steps slide on page 14 of the workbook. And step 4 is set an intention. And my notes say that that means decide whether you want to go for or have as a goal agreement, compromise, or consensus. And my thoughts are perhaps you don't know that until you get to step 6.
Right. Yes, you're right, Diana. However, remember you're planning and preparing ahead of time. You want to look at, and like I indicated that Christine had her intention was for Cathy to be successful. So it's not limited to that, but you really do need to have some framework in mind as the direction you want to go. And that's what setting the intention really means.
Even though it might end up something different, it's your planning step as to where you think you want it to end up.
Right. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right.
There were a couple of statements about culture, and I do need to reiterate, we are in the 4th industrial revolution, and many people say, like, what's the 4th industrial revolution? It's the digital age. We need to recognize that all of our perceptions, as you saw when we did the exercise, did you see the old woman? Did you see the young woman? Our perceptions are changing at lightning speed right now. And because of the digital age, many of the things that we thought, you heard statements of, is this a young person's activity? We are moving rapidly to a point where you are going to see meetings where you are represented as an icon. a picture of yourself that you put together all by yourself. So you can be whatever you want to be in a world that you want to be in. When we start abstracting to this level and we're still dealing with conflict, that is why we have brought this workshop to you tonight, to cultivate an interior sense of peace. Because no matter what your outside is, if your inside is in conflict, you are going to do a power play on someone else. You are going to respond to aggression, even if it's microaggression, in an unhealthy way. And that is why I am personally blessed by having had our speaker this evening come into my life and to come into yours as well. Charlotte, do you have any closing thoughts before I give it to Jules to batter up the next workshops that are coming as part of Founders Lead 2022?
I just will leave a word with people knowing to continue your journey. Keep working, keep growing, keep practicing, keep reading, and enjoy the process while you're doing it. Thank you, AJ.
Very true. Time out while I choke for a second here. I have the winter cold. So again, tonight we were so lucky to have Charlotte with us on Ralph Smedley's birthday. You know that it is because of Ralph Smedley that we are all here as brothers and sisters to each other, trying to become people of peace. And it is Ralph himself who said, through better communication, we build a world of peace. If you want to do something for Ralph's birthday, you are welcome to make a contribution to the Ralph Smedley Fund. If you want to continue to invest in your personal growth, obviously it is renewal time, but we have some workshops coming up. Julie, tell us about them.
Yes, we have, and I will share my screen here. We have some upcoming workshops. So I hope everybody enjoyed tonight. We also, next on deck, we have our We Build New Clubs. There's new thoughts and new energy into our to come to our workshop and learn where you can find new.
Cathy Hughes, are you with us? Cathy Hughes, can you unmute and tell us what is going to happen when we build new clubs?
Well, come on March 16th and find out. But yes, that is our district mission. So we've got to build those new clubs. And there are all kinds of things that you'll learn from Pam McCowan, who is quite the expert at this.
Yep. And Jules, what comes up right after that? You took the share down, but we're good. Jules, you're on mute.
Sorry, my Zoom dropped me.
That's
I didn't
all
realize
right.
It remuted me.
Yeah, it's Ralph Smedley doing his thing.
Yes. Okay. We're going to try this again. Next, we have the Founders Lead 2022. Why? Because we want to make sure you finish strong from a club, from an area, division, district. We're going to talk about how you can achieve that personal success this year.
Right. And again, Cathy, share with us one of your very special guests that is going to be on Finishing Strong. Frank?
Oh, Frank Chong from Broadly Speaking Toastmasters is quite an exciting leader in the club as current club president, past vice president of education. They have been managing their educational goals and their club success plan in a very dynamic way. And during a pandemic year, they actually dramatically increased their membership. So it is just a vibrant club, and he's got some success that he can share with people on how that worked.
And then our final, Roz Carter will also be with us on that one. And our final one, Julie.
Our final one is dare to inspire and motivate. What does your next year hold? Well, of course, we'll have just a little bit of time left in this Toastmasters year. It's really important that you start looking at what is your next year. And with that, I also encourage you to step outside your comfort zone and step up to being a district leader next year. The deadline to submit your application is coming up. It's March 1st. So don't miss out, because I want to see each one of you on our district team next year, because I know many of you are talented.
Thank you, Julie. Charlotte's going to be with us for this final part of our Founders Lead 2022. Charlotte, you want to give us some thoughts as to dare to inspire and dare to motivate?
Thank you very much, AJ. Well, you know, we motivate people by manipulating the environment, materials, but if we really want to move people forward, we dare to inspire them and get them that spark and flame underneath them, and we're going to show you how to do that.
Different language for sure. All of this is to give you, the emerging leader of Founders District, the tools that you need to go forward and to build a better you. I thank you so very much for the deep gift of your time this evening from all around the world. We are grateful for your time with us. We hope that we have given you some information to go forward and to encourage a center of peace within your own lives. I cannot say enough about our speaker and the trio and the past district director for Founders District that helped me bring this workshop to you this evening. They are a blessing to Founders District, and I could not think of a better district for this set of workshops to be held than that which was the center of our founder itself. May you all have a great evening. If you wish to reach out to Charlotte, her information is at the back of your workbook if you want her to come to your club or to do one of these workshops at your local area. I thank you all. See you down the road. We'll see you next month for We Build New Clubs. Come back and join us. Take care.
Great. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.